Bad audio can ruin a good video, but the good news is you don't need some fancy or expensive plugin to fix it. In this video, we're going to jump into DaVinci Resolve, and I'm going to show you how we can clean up your muddy dialogue, how to make it a little bit clearer and crisper using only free tools right here in DaVinci Resolve. So let's jump in the studio, get in Resolve, and clean up that audio for you. Let's go. We are in DaVinci Resolve here, and we're going to do all of this using free tools in the edit page. You don't have to jump into Fairlight. You don't need Studio. If you've got the free version, you're going to be good to go, and you can do all of these things that we're going to do to make our dialogue sound a whole lot better. Now, if you're brand new here, my name is Jason. I've got tons of audio videos for you, kind of like an audio guru here in DaVinci Resolve, but I've got a lot of other stuff too to help you out in your DaVinci Resolve journey because the learning curve is steep and it can be challenging and frustrating. I know because I've been there too. But in DaVinci Resolve here, we're currently in the edit page. And the first thing we want to do is listen to our clip. I want you to hear what we're working with, and I want to set our levels and make sure we've got good levels because that's always the first step of the process. So let's give this clip a listen here.
All right, here's a little sample where we've got some muddy dialogue. Sometimes with a lav mic or these kind of mics, it just sounds too muddy. You need to increase the clarity of it. So let's go ahead and take this sample, make it a little bit clearer for you. And if you do this with your audio, it's going to sound awesome. Let's do it.
So there's our sample right there. We do notice our levels are a little low and it's extra muddy. If I hold the mic close to like my neck here, it just kind of exaggerates that muddiness a little bit just so it's easier for you guys to hear. But to set our audio levels, in this case, I'm going to use the fastest method that we can. I'm going to select my audio clip. I'm going to right click, come on up to normalize audio levels. And I like to go with sample peak program because that gets me around minus 10 dB, which is where I want to be when it comes to my dialogue. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit normalize. So now our clip levels are in a better spot, and we are going to be using the EQ here to increase the clarity and get rid of some of that muddiness in our clips. Now don't be scared. We're going to make a few simple changes. You don't need to know anything technical, but just follow along here and I guarantee it's going to help your clips sound better. So you want to have your mixer open here in the edit page. If you don't see it, click on the top here, the mixer, and then we want to double click our EQ to open it up. So here is our EQ, and there's just a few basic things that we want to start with to see if we can make our dialogue here sound better, because right now it sounded pretty muddy. The first thing that you want to do is turn on your band 1 right here, and we want to add a high pass filter. So we want to get rid of all those low end frequencies because you just don't need them when it comes to dialogue. So you can come in here and dial your frequency up to anywhere between 100 and 120, and that should be pretty good. Now you can listen to your clip and bring this up to where it sounds like it's removing a lot of it. So let's try that and just see how it sounded. I'm gonna bring it back down, we'll listen to it and bring it up to where it sounds like it's removing some of that mud.
All right, here's a little sample where we've got some muddy dialogue. Sometimes with a lav mic or these kind of mics, it just sounds too muddy. You need to increase the clarity of it. So let's go ahead and take this.
So I'm going to go around 124. I don't want to go too high because we're going to use another point to increase the clarity of the dialogue here. So the next thing I want to do is I'm going to come in and grab my 0.4 here, and I want to make a boost somewhere between this 4 and 8K range, and that should help increase the clarity and the presence of our dialogue a little bit. So let's play through our clip, and all I'm going to do is grab 0.4 and bring it up and see how that's sounding. Another little bonus tip here for you. If you set in and out points here, press O for an out point, and I hit this guy right here, this little button, it's going to loop it for us so we don't have to stop it and start it again while we're making our adjustments. It'll just do it automatically for us. So let's see what we can do with our point number 4 here.
All right, here's a little sample where we've got some muddy dialogue. Sometimes with a lav mic or these kind of mics, it just sounds too muddy. You need to increase the clarity of it. So let's go ahead and take this sample, make it a little bit clearer for you. And if you do this...
All right, so I think that helped out. Now, if it's still sounding a little too muddy, we can come back and grab our 0.3 here and make another change. And we want to make another cut, probably somewhere in this lower end around here. Now, you're going to play through your clip and just listen to what the clip sounds like. And when it sounds like it's removed some of that, that's where you're going to stop and leave your point right there. So let's go ahead and give that a try.
All right, here's a little sample where we've got some muddy dialogue. Sometimes with a lav mic or these kind of mics, it just sounds too muddy. You need to increase the clarity of it. So let's go ahead and take this.
So I think that works right there. I'm around 400, 430, a lot of times around that 400 number. That's where it's going to sound a little bit muddy, right? It could be anywhere between 125 and 250. Depends on your voice, the dialogue clip, and all that. Now let's just do a quick before and after. And also another quick note, if you wanted to broaden out what's being affected a little bit, if you watch my point number 3 here, I can make it affect just a few frequencies or a whole lot. Use your middle mouse wheel and just scroll it up and down while you're hovering over the point, and you're going to affect more or less frequencies. If you don't have a middle mouse wheel, because I know some of you don't, just come on down here and you can grab the Q factor. Does the exact same thing. So in this case, I just made a few big sweeping changes here to this particular clip, and I think it helped it out quite a bit. Let's do a quick little before and after here.
All right, here's a little sample where we've got some muddy dialogue. Sometimes with a lav mic or these kind of mics, it just sounds...
All right, so I think it's definitely easier to hear what I'm saying, right? Now, the other thing that happens while we work with some EQ is that our levels get a little bit quieter. So we need to bring that back. In order to do that, we can do it right here with our gain, and we're just gonna push that up while we watch our meters and try and get that level, the lights down there, to be around minus 10 dB. So let's go ahead and give that a try.
All right, here's a little sample where we've got some muddy dialogue. Sometimes with a lav mic or these kind of mics, it just sounds too muddy. You need to increase the clarity of it.
All right, I think we're doing pretty good there. Now, if it still sounds a little too muddy for you, maybe come back and you can bring up this band 1 a little bit, make it a little higher. You can reduce your band 3 a little bit there and pull out some more of that muddiness sound. If you want it to be crisper, maybe you want to make 0.4 a little bit bigger and add some crispness, because that's where you're going to get that clarity from, is up in that upper frequency range. So by just using those 3 points, you're going to be able to clean up that dialogue and make it a lot crisper if it's sounding muddy. So let's say maybe I want to adjust my band 1 a little bit, and then we're going to move on to the next step.
All right, here's a little sample where we've got some muddy dialogue. Sometimes with a lav mic or these kind of mics, it just sounds too muddy. You need to increase the clarity of it. So let's go ahead and take this sample.
I think that's good. Now, is it going to be perfect? No, probably not, but it's going to be a lot better than you started with, and your audience is going to appreciate that they can actually understand what you're saying. So we're good here with the EQ. Now, the next thing that I like to throw in there is a little bit of compression, and that's just going to help balance things out for you. Without getting too technical, all you got to do, double-click your dynamics right here, and there's actually some presets built right into Resolve here, so if you click the drop-down, you've got compression, expander, full expander, soft knee. You can choose whichever one you'd like, maybe just want some basic compression. Again, we're going to play through our clip here. We are going to watch our levels and make sure we're coming up to that minus 10 dB, because this meter here is the same as this meter down here. And if we're not quite at that minus 10 dB, we're going to use our makeup slider to boost things up. So let's give it a listen here.
All right, here's a little sample where we've got some muddy dialogue. Sometimes with a lav mic or these kind of mics, it just sounds too muddy. You need to increase the clarity of it. So let's...
And that's it. I think that's looking pretty good. Now, as you increase the clarity of your dialogue, you may run into a little issue where those S's start to sound a little harsh. And in order to take care of that, we do have another free plugin that we can use right here, and it's called the de-esser. So let me go ahead and show you how that works. Now, to add the de-esser right here in the edit page, we can't just double-click our effects here because it doesn't bring them all up for us. However, what we can do is come on up to our effects library, come down to our Fairlight effects, and right here we've got de-esser. And to use it, all I have to do is click, hold, and drag it and drop it in this area to put it on a track. Or if you only want it on a particular clip, you can drop it just on the clip. In this case, I want it on the track, so I'm going to drop it over here. Once I do that, it's going to show this window right here. Blackmagic Design was kind enough to give us some presets here as well. So if I click the drop down, for me, I'm going to use male ESS or S. Click on that. We can see it did this. Now you could just leave it like this if you want and adjust your amount if it's a little too much. What I like to do is make it a little bit narrower because I think it affects a little too much sometimes. So bring that back, play through it. We're going to see if it's doing anything by looking at this meter right here, seeing if it's applying any reduction.
All right, here's a little sample where we've got some muddy dialogue. Sometimes with a lav mic or these kind of mics, it just sounds too muddy. You need to increase the clarity of it. So let's go.
Now I just brought it back a little bit there so it wasn't applying as much of a de-esser. It's just reducing just a little bit. Now this particular clip I think is okay. It's not too harsh when it comes to the S's. Depending on your clip, it may sound a little harsh, and the de-esser is going to help take care of that and dial that back just a little bit so those harsh S's aren't coming through and hurting your audience's ears. So those are the basics that are going to help you clean up that mud and increase a little bit of clarity if you use the EQ. The EQ is such a great tool, and it does an awesome job making your dialogue sound a whole lot better. Now I've got one more tip for you here as a little bonus that you can use if you want to just make everything sound a little bit better at the end of the day once you're done with all of your audio edits. Now in this case I only have dialogue, but you could have dialogue, music, sound effects, everything in there, and this tip is going to work out great no matter what you've got. So in the edit page, again, I want to come to my main bus 1, which is my main output of audio from DaVinci Resolve. I want to open up the EQ, And you want to grab your 0.5 here. And I'm just going to come around 2K, give it a little boost. And I'm going to come around number 2 here. I'm going to grab that. Come up maybe around, I don't know, almost 250. Little boost there. Boom. We should be good to go. If you really want, you could grab your 0.4 and drop it down a little bit there. You could. You don't have to. Let's give it a little before and after and see if this made a difference.
All right, here's a little sample where we've got some muddy dialogue. Sometimes with a lav mic or these kind of mics, it just sounds too muddy. You need to increase the clarity of it. So let's go ahead and take this sample, make it a little bit clearer for you. And if you do this with your audio, it's going to sound awesome.
All right, what do you think? Did we clean up that mud and make it a little bit easier to understand for you? I think this works out really well. It's a couple easy, simple changes that you can do. You don't have to know the details of everything. You just follow the process that we talked about here, and it's going to clean up your dialogue, make it sound a whole lot better, and hopefully it's not going to be muddy anymore, and your audience is going to be able to understand it a lot better. So now you know how to turn that muddy, flat sounding audio into more pro sounding audio right inside of DaVinci Resolve for free. That's right, for free. That's the best part, right? So if you want to learn more about editing in DaVinci Resolve or how to really edit your audio and take it to the next level, I've got tons of videos here on my channel. Hit that subscribe button, like this video for me. And if you just want a one-stop shop, you don't want to look around, so you could go one place and learn everything about audio editing, I've got a course for that too. Links in the description below. You can check it out. It's called Audio Essentials for Video Editors in DaVinci Resolve. All right, guys, thanks so much. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Peace.